Hello everyone.
Yes, Shanta.
This is Pramod, right?
Yeah, this is Pramod. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Anyone else has been joined?
Yeah,
But
my name Tarek.
yeah, hi Tariq, how are you?
Good, ma'am. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hi Shanta ma'am, this is Mohit.
Yeah, hi Mani, how are
Hi,
you?
good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. That's it, right? I think three of them has joined. Fine, because I'm not able to see the list here. Madhu, I hope you'll coordinate if any problem occurs. Fine. Let us start the orientation session now. So let me introduce myself first, then you also can introduce yourself so that we both can communicate with each other, and if you have any doubts and all, then I can clarify it. Okay. So let me introduce myself. I'm Shanta, so I'll be the Java tutor here. So I have around 12 plus years of experience. So I started my career with Java J2EE development, and presently I'm also working with the Hadoop development, which is based on Java. So I work for Oracle's product development actually. So it was earlier Sun Microsystems product. So now Oracle has acquired this one, so I'm working for Oracle now. So generally, based upon my project work, I'll be roaming US as well as India. So currently, I'm based out on India for project work here. So this is just a small introduction about myself. So coming to the course content part, I can explain you like what and all the things I'm going to cover here. So we have two parts here. One is core Java and another is advanced Java, which I'm going to cover here. So starting with your core Java, like all the basic steps, like what do you mean by Java? From the scratch I'm starting out, like who don't even know about any programming language, they should all be able to grasp the thing. So from that perspective, I'm starting from the scratch, like what do you mean by Java, what do you mean by programming languages, what are the different components are there, what are its architecture, how to write your codes, classes, the different data types which we have over there, and the different flow control statements like for, do, while, okay, switch statements, so etc. and all those things we'll be covering in detail, and also the arrays concepts, the string handling concepts, object oriented concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, okay, all those things also we'll be seeing here, and how to write your classes, how to create your objects, uh, how to create your methods, the constructors, everything from the coding perspective also we'll be seeing over there. So the packages, interfaces, there are different access modifiers are there, how to restrict your Java code uh, to allow someone to access, like do you want all the public people to access your code or you want to restrict it, okay. For that we have different access modifiers that we will be seeing over there, and we also have the exception handling mechanism to deal with if suppose any error is going to occur in your program, then how do you want to deal with, you don't want your program to abruptly terminate, right? So in that manner, control your programming manner also is possible here. And we'll be seeing about the threads concept, that is multi-threading concepts here, the different wrapper classes, annotations, different type of classes are there inner classes we call it, and the applets. So, and some of the libraries like java.lang package, IO package, utilities package, which are going to contain the different things like collections, frameworks, IO streams, so GUI and swings, annotations. So all these things we will be seeing in detail along with all the practical sessions. Okay, for each and every concept we will also be seeing the programs correspondingly. Okay, and coming to your advanced Java topic, so we will be starting with the JDBC concept, which is the basic thing, okay, wherein we are going to use some SQL syntaxes and all. And then we will be seeing about the Java servlets, okay, JSPs, Java server pages. So I'm just highlighting the points here, okay, you can see the detailed stuff is there, and RMI, the EJB concepts. So we have two versions, EJB2 and the latest one, that is EJB3. So I'll be comparing both the things and I'll be showing you. And we will also be seeing about different design patterns. What do you mean by design pattern is nothing but suppose if you're having a particular problem, okay, some predefined solutions are specified, okay, such things also you can just utilize it, reusing those components here. Okay, if you face the same problem, then you can reuse these solutions. Otherwise, if you're facing a new problem, then you can develop your own new solution. Okay, that is also possible here. So for your enterprise applications, that is advanced Java, so we will be using the servers here. So Tomcat or JBoss or Glassfish, okay, these servers we will be using. Generally for servlets we will use Tomcat here, so servlets and JSPs. And for your EJB we will be using JBoss, okay, server here, and Glassfish can also be used for your JSP and servlets. And IDEs, generally Eclipse is the most popular one, so which we will be using here. And we also have some frameworks like Hibernate, okay, so which is mainly used to reduce the amount of SQL code which you need to write to contact your JDBC API, through which you can connect to your databases and fetch your data over there. And we will also be seeing a framework like Spring. Okay, so the main advantage of Spring is it is loosely coupled, so that using your Spring framework you can deal with any type of applications. It can be a standalone Java application or enterprise level application or web application, anything it can be, and you can develop a reusable code over there. Okay, so that is the advantage of your framework here. So this is the course contents what I have highlighted here, which is going to be covered in this course. So if you have any doubts you can clarify it. Okay, so and also please introduce yourselves.
Hey Shanta, this is Pramod. Actually, I'm looking out this course for my two boys, Karan and Sahil. So they are also listening in. So one is in high school, another one is in the middle school. So I just spoke with Madhu. I just wanted to see whether it will interest him, and we'll decide accordingly.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mohit, and I'm currently enrolling in DeVry University. I'm doing the computer information systems and concentration in web development. But now I feel like I have a basic knowledge in Java, so I thought maybe I can develop my knowledge in this field. So that's why I'm going to take this course.
Okay.
I have some basic knowledge like classes. I can create simple application in Java.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Tarek. I live in New York. I go to school for computer science, and I take some self-education from online about Java.
Okay, fine. That's good. So, fine. So this is just the course content, what I have explained here. Do you need any further clarifications or any demo class you want me to take? That is the first session you want me to take. However you people say, that is fine with me. Pramod, anything from your side?
Shanta, so if you can have one, just give a glimpse of around 10-15 minutes about any particular, choose whatever you're able with, and if you can walk us through that, I will appreciate it.
Sure. No problem at all. Fine. So I'm just starting with the just Java overview here. We're not going in depth. Okay, I'm just showing you like what exactly Java is, because as I have seen, the people are also from a school background as well, right? And also who are pursuing their degrees, I suppose. So in that sense, from the scratch, I'm just explaining like what exactly Java is. Okay. So I would like to make the class more interactive by asking like some few common questions. Okay. In the general way, you can answer it. It is not like a compulsory thing. Okay. So what do you people think language is in generally? Okay, can I say like language is nothing but a way of communication, right? Through the English language, we are communicating with each other, okay? So, fine. In the same manner, we need some way to communicate with your computer, okay? So, that is also a language, which we call it as programming language, okay? So, what do you mean by program then? I can say it like program is nothing but a set of instructions which needs to be given to your computer for achieving some task, whatever you want, right?
Yep.
So this is your program. So when I combine these two things, programming language, that is nothing but we want a way to communicate with your computer to achieve some task. Okay, so that is why we are going for programming language. So Java is a programming language. Okay, using Java, we are just going to communicate with our computer to get our task being done. Okay. Then what is platform in generally? Can I say like a platform is nothing but a surface on which the things are going to stand? It can be hardware or it can be software. Anything it can be. Okay. So now coming to your actual topic, that is Java. What exactly Java is? Java is a programming language, as I have already told you. Java is also called as a platform. and Java is also called as a development environment, as well as Java is also called as a deployment environment. Okay, this is what Java exactly. Okay, in generally we all know like Java is just a programming language. It is not only a programming language, but it is also a platform. Okay, and as I told, it is a development environment because it provides so many built-in tools using which you can execute your programs. And it is also called as a deployment environment because it provides some concepts like applets, a small Java programs which can run in your browser. Okay, so that is why we also call Java as development and deployment environment. Then coming to the history about your Java, like it is started in 1991 by James Gosling, Mike Sheridan and Patrick Norton. Initially it was named as Oak and then renamed as Green and then later renamed as Java, which we are going to call it now. And Java was earlier Sun Microsystems product, and in 2010 Oracle has acquired this one. So now this is Oracle's product, both software and hardware. They belong to Oracle corporations now. Okay, and we call Java as a Ora. Ora is nothing but write once, run anywhere. So what do you mean by this write once, run anywhere? I'll explain you as we move forward. So these are the different versions of Java. Okay, to execute your Java program, you need to install a software. What software you need to install? That is JDK, Java Development Kit. So the first version was released in 95, that is JDK Alpha and Beta. Then in 1996 JDK 1 has been released. Okay, like that so many versions has been evolved. In 2014 Java 8 has been released. Okay, now coming to the features of your Java. As I told you, I'm just giving the Java overview here. Whatever the features we are discussing here, that we will be seeing in depth in separate chapters. Okay, as we move forward. So here I'm just giving the overview of it. So like we call Java as very simple, easy language here. Why? Because if you know any of the previous languages like C and C++, the syntax is going to be similar one, your C++. Okay. And some of the pitfalls which are there in your previous languages, those are all has been removed in Java, like header files. So what do you mean by this header file? If you know C or C++, you used to use like hash include stereo.h, ponyo.h, okay, like that. So those are called as header files. That is nothing but, in a simple manner if you want me to tell, like the common functionalities has been already developed by the architect people and they have already stored it. Okay, what are the common functionalities? Example, like everyone wants to give some input through the keyboard. Okay, through the keyboard you want to enter some data and you want to see something onto your screen as a result. That is the common functionality, right? So for that also you need some programming. Okay, so that has been already developed by your architect people and they have already placed it in the header files. Okay, instead of developing everything from the scratch, you are just going to reuse those things. Okay, so earlier what we used to do is we used to include the header files for that. Means in the header file, in each header file, more than 100 built-in functions will be defined. You may be using 1 or 2 functions in your current program, but still all the 100 functions will be copied and pasted into your current working environment implicitly. So which is going to occupy more space here? Okay. So that was the disadvantage. So it has been eliminated in Java. So we use that built-in functionality, okay, but we are not allowing the entire functions to be copied into your current working environment. So that has been improved by using a statement called as import, okay, and the concepts like pointer, operator overloading, explicit memory allocation, all these things has been removed in Java. Explicit memory allocation is nothing but, see, each memory is going to have a finite size. When you keep on adding some data to the memory, after some time it is going to be filled up. So when you want to store some more new data, there will not be any space to store in the memory. So you need to delete off some stuff from the memory so that you'll get the free space to store your new data. So that you need to do it manually in your previous languages. But in Java it is going to be done automatically. Okay. It is going to have a thread concept which is going to keep track like which are the objects, or I can say it as a data, which has been referred for a long time, which has not been referred for a long time, okay, like that. It is just going to keep track and it is going to automatically delete off the unnecessary stuff. Okay. So that's why we call Java as simple, easy and familiar. And we also call Java as platform independent. So why do we call Java as platform independent? Means whatever the Java program you're going to write, that is called as a source code. Okay. So that is going to be given to the compiler. What is this compiler? Compiler is a tool. Okay. So we need mainly 2 tools to execute your Java program. One is compiler and another is interpreter. So interpreter will be there in your JVM. Okay, it has its implementation. So first your source code is given to your compiler. Compiler is going to convert this source code into bytecode, because your source code will be like English format, which cannot be understandable by your computer. Okay, it needs to be converted into machine understandable format in the form of 0 and 1. Okay. So for that sake, your source code is going to be given to the compiler. So your compiler will convert this into bytecode, intermediate machine understandable format. Then this is going to be given to the JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So each operating system, like Windows is going to have its own JVM, Linux is going to have its own JVM, Mac is going to have its own JVM implementation. But all this JVM can understand the single bytecode. Okay, this is common. So this JVM is going to take this bytecode and convert it into completely machine format and give it to the underlying operating system, the runtime environment for the execution. So what is the advantage? You can write your code, that is source code, in any of the operating system, okay, and you can run it in any other operating system. Suppose if you have written it in the Windows operating system, you can execute it in the Linux operating system. How it is possible? Because of this bytecode and JVM. Okay, so that's why we call Java as platform independent. It is not confined to a single platform. This is the biggest advantage of Java. Okay, in any operating system you can work with Java. It is not limited. And we call Java as object-oriented language. Whenever you call it as an object-oriented language, automatically it is going to satisfy the concepts like, as I told, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, and abstraction. So it is going to have the things like classes, objects and all. So whatever you are going to write, you need to write it inside a class definition only. That is compulsory. So as I told, as we move forward in a separate chapter, we will be seeing about each object-oriented feature in detail. And we also call Java as robust. Why? Because it is going to, as I had told you, manage the memory automatically. Okay, by using a concept called as garbage collection. No need for you to explicitly delete off any stuff from the memory. Automatically, whenever the memory gets filled, okay, it is going to delete off the unnecessary data from the memory. And suppose if an error is going to occur in your program, then it will take care like your program should not be terminated abruptly. Okay, that is going to be done by using exception handling mechanism. Okay, which also will be seeing in a separate chapter. And we also call Java as secure because it is going to provide some virtual firewall between your application and your JRE, Java Runtime Environment. And you also have the access modifiers using which you can control who can access your code, who cannot access your code. Okay. And we also call Java as a distributed environment. Why? Because the programs which are written in two different machines can also communicate with each other by using the protocols like HTTP and FTP, which are even built using your Java itself. And we also call Java as compiled and interpreted because we have two tools here, right? So first, your Java source code is given to your compiler, which will convert it into bytecode. Then this bytecode is given to your interpreter, which will convert it into entirely machine format, I told. So in both the steps, okay, excessive code checking is going to be done, again, which is going to increase the security. Okay, that is the advantage. And we also call Java as portable. I had told you like it is a Aura concept, that is write once and run anywhere. You can write your Java program once in any operating system and you can run it in any other operating system. Okay, that is why it is called as Aura concept. And it is architecture neutral. It is not confined to a single operating system. You can work with Java from any operating system. And it gives the high performance. How? By using the JIT compiler, just-in-time compiler. How it improves the performance, I'll tell you as we move forward. And no need for you to write the same set of code again and again if you want to use the same concepts. You can just write it only once and reuse it many number of times by using the concept called as inheritance. And you can also run multiple tasks simultaneously like a parallel processing to achieve your results faster by using a concept called as multi-threading. And we also call Java as dynamic because it is having so many built-in classes and libraries. Example, suppose if you have a project wherein you have included a date field. Okay. So in that date field, okay, each day it keeps on changing, right? It is not a constant number what is going to be displayed. So that should be done automatically. It should not be like every day you should enter inside a code and change the number over there. Okay. So it should be done automatically. That is possible using Java. Okay. That's why we call it as it is dynamic. These are all the features of Java, what I just explained. And now how exactly Java works. So we have two environment here. One is compile time environment and another is runtime environment. So in your compile time environment, first, okay, you're going to have your Java source code. Either you can use a notepad, a text editor, or you can use the IDE. As we move forward, I'll give you the detailed document, which softwares to download, from where to download, okay, how to install, everything I'll explain you. So now you have written your Java program, okay, example in maybe in some notepad, just save that with .java extension, example like demo.java. Then that is given to your compiler. So that source code is converted into bytecodes and that will be placed into another file which is going to end with .class extension like demo.class file. Then these bytecodes should be given to runtime system. We have a unit called as class loader which is responsible for loading these .class files, that is bytecodes, onto the memory. Then we have another unit, that is bytecode verifier, which is going to check using your built-in libraries whether all the syntaxes has been followed or not. Otherwise it is going to give an error to correct your program. If everything is fine, then that bytecode is given to the JVM. JVM is having a interpreter implementation, so which is going to convert this bytecode into machine format, and that will be given to the runtime system for the execution. Suppose if you are calling a recursive code, recursive is nothing but you are calling the same set of code again and again. That time what happens is only once that particular bytecode is converted here, and then it is going to be stored into JIT, just-in-time compiler sketch. So when you call the same set of code, already converted instruction is going to be fetched directly from the JIT. That's why we call JIT is going to improve the performance. Okay. Then it is going to be executed directly in the runtime system. This is what is going to be done internally, okay, inside your system. So now what exactly JVM is going to contain? Java Virtual Machine. So it is going to have a class loader which is responsible for loading your .class files onto the memory. So your memory is divided into 5 different sections. Like each section is responsible for storing its own data. Like Method area can store only methods. Heap memory can store only objects. Java stacks can store only operators and operands. PC registers can store address of the currently executing instruction. Native method stacks can store the program from other language. Okay, through this interface it can interact with those libraries. And your execution engine is responsible for executing your actual code. Okay. So something more about JVM, JRE and JDK. So when I talk about JVM, as I told, your bytecode is given to the JVM and your JVM is going to convert that bytecode into machine format. And each operating system is going to have its own implementation of JVM, a separate software. Okay. So along with the bytecode and JVM, the Java has become platform independent. That is the main feature of Java here. So what your JVM is going to do? It is going to search for your required JAV files. Okay, it will convert your bytecode into machine format and it will execute your code. And your JVM is only responsible for allocating and deallocating your memory automatically. Okay. Then what does this JRE means? Java Runtime Environment. So I told you, like, whenever you are writing your Java code, no need to develop everything from the scratch. You can just use the built-in classes or the libraries. Okay. So where are these built-in libraries or classes? These are going to be provided by your JRE software. Okay. So this JRE is going to contain JVM along with this all the built-in classes and libraries, so that it helps you to write your code. But you cannot execute and see the output. Okay, you can just write your code because it is not providing any tools here. Then who is providing tools? Your JDK software is providing it. Java Development Kit. So it is going to provide JRE along with all the tools which are necessary to execute your program, so that you can view the output as well. So always remember, to deal with your Java, you need to install JDK software. Okay. Then these are some of the coding guidelines. It is just like, even if you don't follow these guidelines, still your program will work. But if you want to become a good Java professionalist, then you just need to follow these things. Okay. So what do you mean by variable, constants, methods? Everything you will understand as we move forward in the further chapters. Here I am just telling you like where to use or how to use your naming conventions. So you can see, if you want to name a variable, everything will be in the small letter. Second word's first letter will be capital. If you want to name a constant, then all the letters should be in the capital letter. The multiple words should be separated by underscore. And if you want to name a method, okay, everything is in small letters, but each word's first letter should be capital, not from the beginning. Okay. But for the classes, from the beginning itself, it should be capital for each word. Okay. like this. As I told, even if you don't follow these guidelines also, your programs will work. Okay. So anyways, as we move forward, I'll also show you like how to write your programs, how to execute it, how to see the output. Okay. Everything we will be seeing in detail. Fine. So this is just the Java overview what I gave you here. Any doubts from anyone?
No, Shanta, I think it gives a good idea about how the overall course is going to be. And what about the assignments and the practical problems? How are you going to coordinate on those?
Yeah, I'll be giving the assignments and also the practical parts. As I told you, for each and every concepts, I'll be showing the program execution here, as well as I'll be passing those programs to the students as well. Okay, and I'll be giving the assignments to them, which they can complete it. And if they get any doubts, and they can get back to me on that as well. Okay. Is that fine, Pramod?
It was not me.
Oh, sorry. Who asked it? Okay, anyways, any more doubts from anyone?
So not from me. So we'll give a feedback to Madhu and we'll decide on to get started on this.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Thanks for your
sure.
time.
Yeah, welcome. Bye, both of all of you.